All right, guys. So before we get into today's episode, I wanted to do a quick announcement about the upcoming episode, which will be episode 8 of the Virtues and Vices series. This episode will cover courage versus cowardice, and that's going to be releasing on May 31st. After that, there will only be one following episode of the Virtues and Vices series, episode 9, and that will cover love and will kind of wrap up everything in that series. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. I hope that you guys are looking forward to that as well. Now, let's get into the episode. Something that is lost in modern society is that virtue actually requires strength, either mental, physical, moral strength, some kind of strength. It requires that because weakness is just the tendency to go with whatever comes naturally, whatever is easiest to kind of be pushed around by the wind. Strength is the ability to resist, right? Resistance training, it's in the name. We can resist the temptations that come up in our minds. So virtue inherently requires strength, and so it's not a selfish thing to pursue strength for that purpose.
If you find yourself in a situation where there is a wrong that needs to be adjusted and corrected, you need a plan of action, you need the ability, you need the confidence in order to correct something like that.
Welcome to the Masculine Spirit Podcast, where we pursue truth and excellence as men under the leadership of Christ. I'm Robert Krause, and I'm joined by my co-host Noah Bills. Today's discussion will examine the relationship between mental and physical strength, as well as the purpose of gaining strength in general. So to start off today's discussion, we have a quote from Sir William Francis Butler. Quite a name there. He was an officer in the British Army in the mid-1800s. And this quote that he has, I think, is very pertinent to the ideas of mental and physical strength and the importance of both of those things. So he says, "The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools." I just think that quote hits incredibly hard.
It is kind of hard.
It goes hard. He got bars for days.
I mean, it definitely just exemplifies the idea that having one or the other of those virtues, I think is kind of like leaves you a little bit empty-handed. Like there is a lot to gain from both having the physical and mental fortitude and like the brain mental capacity to follow through with anything that you're doing. Like you can't just have like the wit or the intelligence, but you also have to have the grit and the hardworking spirit to pull through with something. And that's where you see, thinking done by cowards. You have these people who maybe have these ideas, but they don't have like the heart or the bravery to do what is right, to do what needs to be done. Versus you have those that they employ in the military who, have physical fortitude, but they don't have the right critical thinking ability to also kind of do what's right like on the battlefield, but also just to plan efficiently and use their strengths like to the most effectiveness that they can.
Yeah, and I think a pretty obvious example where you see this in history is some of history's greatest generals. Most of them, they were great warriors. They were very tough men, able to persevere through a lot of pain and struggle, but they were also incredible strategists, able to outsmart their opponents, the opposing forces that they're facing. They were able to know when to attack and when to hold back, when to come up with a plan because their current plan wasn't working, rather than just pushing forward at all costs and continuing to do something that might be taking them down a bad path, which is kind of what you see with this foolish warrior archetype. is just somebody that has a lot of strength, has a lot of fortitude, but they kind of just keep beating a dead horse like over and over, when it's kind of the concept of work smarter, not harder. You want to make sure that, yes, you have this tenacity and this strength, but that you're focusing that strength in the right direction.
100%. I mean, obviously, like what we're talking about here with the quote and everything is specified in the context of war, but I think it's kind of obvious that this is more kind of applied. I mean, if we're applying to this in our modern lives, like I don't think we're gonna see boots on the ground type war anytime soon, at least as we are as Americans. There's already enough people in the
I hope
military
not.
as is. Yeah, fingers crossed, right? But I think like this still stands in the sense that, you want to have like the grit and the tenacity to pull through whatever task is laid ahead of you. At the same time, you need to be quick on your feet. You need to be able to recognize a situation and learn how to change an approach if one isn't working. You want your feet to be able to be planted when necessary, but you also need to relocate and get yourself out of a situation when you need to. Just having one or another can be nice, but sometimes it can be employed incorrectly when you only have that one thing. It's almost like two sides of the same coin dynamic. You have this ability and you have this skill and you have this strength, but if you don't know where to apply it, then where is it all going? Is it even being used as it should be? Is it being used correctly? You want to have the mental fortitude on top of that physical strength to figure out, how should I apply my skills? Where should I apply these things? Having one or the other, I don't know, kind of lets you get used up in ways that you shouldn't be used.
And I think that the aspect of mental fortitude or mental strength can also be used to encompass virtue. You want to be a virtuous person as well, not just somebody who is strong and seeks to dominate others in order to get personal gain. The virtue aspect is very important because you can have somebody who is the smartest person ever, maybe a scientist, a mathematician, but they're using that knowledge in ways that hurts other people, that exploits other people. You want to be somebody that is not afraid to stand up to the people that are in places of power, somebody who is not afraid to speak the truth, which I think is all mental strength. Like, because most of us, if we're being honest, most of us know the truth to some extent. We know what morality is, what is right and wrong. A lot of it is just a matter of if we're willing to stand up in that specific moment and be like, no, this is wrong, this is right, and I'm going to speak my mind and let the cards fall where they may. That's that's incredibly important. But on the other hand, if you're in that situation and you don't have the physical capacity to also back up what you're saying, then people that are more physically dominant than you can take advantage of you in that situation. So it's like we don't want to say that one is more important than the other. They both work hand in hand. They both feed into each other. And the ideal that we as men especially need to be seeking is to be somebody with the mental fortitude, with the physical fortitude, and with that virtue to tie it all together.
It's not even always about just like physical strength, but I would argue it's a lot about just kind of physical health and well-being. They say a healthy body is a healthy mind. If you want to be able to nourish yourself mentally, you need to be able to take care of yourself physically, in terms of exercise and diet and things like that, which I won't get into the specifics of that, but it really is just about like how you carry yourself and the presence that you have, and then being that person that people can look to, having that leadership trait, or even just being able to lead yourself. You don't necessarily have to always lead other people, but being able to know and handle yourself and to follow through with your goals and to follow your virtues is, it makes you indomitable.
Sure, and it's easy to say that the superficial aspect of leadership, of strength doesn't matter. It's easy to discount that, but I think there is something to be said for presenting an image of strength. I think that is important, but it's only important insofar as you are actually strong on the inside. If you're presenting something to the outside world that does not reflect what is actually going on inside of your heart, inside of your mind, then that's not genuine, and that's a weakness that's gonna be exploited. But if you're somebody who truly does have that inner strength, it's not a bad thing to display that in ways that are virtuous and not taking advantage of other people, of course.
Ultimately, you show those things that the way you should show those things rather is that you have these virtuous actions. Like you start helping other people and providing for them. You demonstrate your skill and the ability to assist others. That in itself, people will look at and they will follow because, like you said before, I think pretty much most of us have a similar idea of what's moral and what's not, and what's virtuous and whatnot. There's obviously some room for debate there, but for the most part, we're not going around killing people. We're not going around taking advantage of people. So when people recognize like your virtues and they see that you're willing to stand up for those things and work for those things, it also kind of gives them space to do the same thing on a smaller level. Once you're the one that imposes your authority and you show that this is a space where it's okay to step out and do what's right, other people will do the same.
And I think the aspect of strength in both mental and physical realms is one of the central things that commands respect, specifically in men. Of course, respect is very important to us. It's like there's nothing more offensive to a man than to blatantly disrespect him in some way. But yeah, when you're able to communicate this mental and physical strength to the people around you, it goes a long way to build respect between you and between others. And I think I think that you see that even when we're talking about how we perceive the strength of other people. If we view someone as morally weak, then we're likely to not give them our own respect. And respect is kind of a reciprocal relationship. It's like a give and take. And yeah, it's good to cultivate qualities that command respect.
Sure. And I mean, if somebody is trying to blatantly disrespect you, don't let that sort of thing get to your head. This is not like an ego game that you should play where you feel like you have to get everybody's respect. And if somebody disrespects you, then it like topples everything. I would say even just kind of take it as like, a little friendly challenge. If somebody doesn't have like that faith or that knowledge of what you are and what you're capable of, then take that as an opportunity to prove them wrong. Show them everything that you're capable of, or even grow to meet that occasion. Try not to take offense in those things. People will rarely ever understand who you truly are and what you are truly capable of doing. We take those things as trials rather than as offenses to our own person.
Yeah, I really like that. That's good to try to view everything, even challenges, even disrespect, as an opportunity for growth because that's what it is. And if you view it like that, you just put yourself in an advantageous position.
For sure. And also, I would just argue that, since we're on the topic of, both mental and physical fortitude, you should throw your ego out the window. Your ego has no place in this. It's not about being better or stronger than anyone else. It's about cultivating yourself and understanding your own abilities and using those abilities to the best that you can. It's not about, competition's nice here and there. I enjoy competition in some areas, that's fine. But it shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be about outplaying other people. If you're gonna outplay anybody, outplay who you were yesterday, outplay who you were last week, last month, last year.
Yeah, and it's ultimately, talking about strength, it can seem very selfish, like, oh, I'm trying to be the strongest person. I want all the strength. I want all of this power. But really, my reason for pursuing strength, or at least what I try to make my reason, is to be able to enact virtue in the world. Because I think that's something that is kind of lost in modern society is that virtue actually requires strength, either mental, physical, moral strength, some kind of strength. It requires that because weakness is just the tendency to go with whatever comes naturally, whatever is easiest to kind of be pushed around by the wind. Strength is the ability to resist, right? Resistance training, it's in the name. We can resist the temptations that come up in our minds. So Yeah, virtue inherently requires strength, and so I think it's not a selfish thing to pursue strength for that purpose.
Sure, 100%. I mean, if you find yourself in a situation where there is a wrong that needs to be adjusted and corrected, that takes a lot of willpower and skill and ability to overcome and to take charge of, and to even just like put yourself out there and be like, hey, I don't think this is right. I think there needs to be a change, and here's how I propose said change. All those things take a lot. You need a plan of action. You need the ability. You need the confidence in order to correct something like that. It's not an easy thing by any means, but like you said, for the sake of virtue, if somebody needs to stand up, it's not always going to be you in every situation. I don't think we're built to handle everything and anything. You do what you can, but you need to push yourself a little bit to get to those places and to make the necessary changes in the world.
So we have 1 Corinthians 3:16 through 17. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. What do you think it means for our bodies to be the temple of God?
So for the idea of a temple, I mean that's a place of congregation. That's a place where you commune with God. That's the place that, when you want to make yourself known, and your troubles and whatever you want to set aside to God, you would go to the temple, you would make your offerings, you would pray and all that stuff. So I think this is just kind of the exemplification that wherever you are, like God is with you because God is, in any religion you have like this holy site, all these temples, that's where they say these gods are, and that's how you commune with them. This one is specifically saying that for us as Christians, that God is, always with us, that we are the temple and we are the vessel for him to come into and make changes, which I think in a sense is really powerful, that we don't have to like go to anywhere specific to make ourselves known, that God is always with us and we are always like in contact when we need to be. And then also, in this verse specifically, we're talking about the destruction of the temple, and obviously, like, the destruction of God's temple relays in God destroying that person. It's just the idea that we need to take care of ourselves in our relationship with God. Otherwise, we'll see ourselves start to crumble.
And of course, if God is with us all the time, if our body and minds are the temple of God, then that strongly implies that we need to take care of those things, both body and mind. So, as far as health, we want to be learning all the time. We want to be adapting to the things around us, not stagnating. Of course, we can talk about nutrition and exercise all day. That's very important. Important to keep yourself physically functional even into old age if you're able to. Of course, there's medical conditions that can get in the way of that, but to whatever to whatever extent you're able to keep yourself physically fit, it's our prerogative to do that, partially to show respect to God for giving us these bodies. Like we say that it's our body, but truly everything belongs to God and it's a gift. Everything is a gift from above, including our health. It's easy to take that for granted. Yeah, just the ability to be somebody who goes to the gym and lifts weights is a huge gift. So I think that gratitude is very tied to the idea of taking care of yourself, because if you have this attitude of gratitude, if you will, regarding your body and your mind, then it's like, well, these things are a gift. I need to cherish them. I need to take care of them and even push them, put healthy amounts of stress on myself in those ways.
I think there's definitely a lot of importance in taking care of ourselves in that way. And like you said, there are some of us with that will experience these medical conditions and other things that prevent us from getting to the performance level that we see from all the other guys, on Instagram and all these other things. One thing I will say is, don't let social media tell you exactly how you should take care of your body. I think it is a very individualized approach.
For sure.
For us too, we really enjoy lifting weights. That's kind of our scene in that sort of scheme of things. That's how we like to take care of ourselves and make sure we're strong and at least engaged in some sort of physical activity. But realistically, it's just kind of anything that you can do for yourself, whether it's just kind of sports or hobbies, whatever you are physically capable of doing that is still also challenging yourself and allowing yourself to grow goes miles. Even just having the innate ability to challenge yourself, I think is huge on its own because that's how you'll see growth. If you're somebody who strays away from challenges, it is very difficult to find yourself really developing in anything. I mean, it's just kind of obvious that if you're not being challenged in something, you're not going to grow in that thing. So I think this also kind of shows the mental fortitude side of things as well, because I think having the mindset of wanting to challenge yourself is big, and then following through with it is, what actually like makes it come into fruition. You really need both of those things. And it really can just be something small and it can be something super specific. Whatever tailors to you, it's your own approach. You're your own person, it's your own body. But I think it is really important to find that thing to really put yourself through the ringer.
Definitely. And before, with the previous quote, we were talking about virtue as well. I think the concept of our bodies being temples to God also really ties into this virtue aspect because, you have the idea of there's that verse that says that every other sin is outside of the body, but sexual or adultery is within the body, and therefore it's in a different category. I think that, the fact that our bodies are temples to God should make us very wary of committing sins that are inherently destructive to our body. Yeah. Not to say that certain sins are worse than others, but there's a distinction in the Bible made between sins that are within the body and sins that are outside of the body. So, in that sense, just like with the previous quote, we're trying to tie the three things together: the mind, the virtue, and the body. The virtue is kind of what leads the other two. So, we have a quote from our friend Socrates, ancient Greek philosopher, very famous, very stoic man. And he says, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable." I just, I agree with that. I think my life would be much less fulfilling if I was not pursuing some kind of physical development in myself. I've found that pursuing those things, whether it's strength or like a bodybuilding type thing or even just athletic performance, it's so rewarding to see that progress. And then the way that it makes you feel just doing that training consistently, the way that you feel after a workout. People talk about the runner's high, you get the endorphins. It's just a physically nice thing. Once you're consistent with it, once you make the physical adaptations that your body needs to. And as men specifically, we like to achieve strength. We are competitive. And I think that if you leave that aspect out of your life or out of your daily routine, you're kind of missing this aspect of masculinity. Not saying that you need to do a specific type of exercise, but I really think, excluding the medical conditions, as we've said, I really think that everybody needs to pursue some kind of physical excellence, whatever that looks like for them. That will go a huge way towards not only developing your body, but developing your mind as well.
Sure. And I mean, I think pursuing any amount of training, physical or mental, is super virtuous for sure. But the thing about the physical training is this ties back into physical health. Having your body engaged, getting good cardiovascular strength, all these things really do benefit like your physical health. And I'm also a big proponent of the idea, and I'll say it again, a healthy body is a healthy mind. I feel like for me personally, when I started engaging in more physical activity and I, corrected my diet in certain ways and I took care of my body more and more, it helped me a lot with my mental issues. It helped me a lot with like my depression and my anxiety and my own self-consciousness and everything. Having the physical abilities trained up is on a different level, not necessarily a higher level than mental training. I think both of those have a lot of pros and cons to them. Well, not, I wouldn't necessarily say cons, just like different benefits for each. And obviously, training both is really important. But again, there are specific benefits to training yourself physically and challenging yourself physically that you won't get from just challenging yourself mentally. Do both as much as you can, but definitely try to get in some of each where you can.
Yeah, I think that that feeds into the idea that physical excellence breeds mental excellence and vice versa. They both feed into each other. Like, for example, with my experience, you were talking about depression and anxiety. I struggled with similar things. I think that a lot of people do, especially in high school when you're trying to figure out stuff, trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. Really, for me, the initial thing that got me on the right path was physical training. I became consistent in the gym because I found that it was really the only thing that seemed to alleviate my depressive tendencies, my anxious tendencies. I tried a lot of different things before that, meditation, medication.
Or you tell me the pills didn't work?
That's what I'm telling you. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And the sad thing is that doctors, psychiatrists are so quick to prescribe those things without even, I remember like my doctor didn't even ask me, hey, what's your exercise routine like? Hey, what's your diet like? What's your sleep like? You just go in, say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, and then they write you a script for something. And it's like, come on, why? This is getting me off on a tangent, but the medical system around depression and anxiety is just not good. Like in my eyes, the first discussion that a doctor should be having with you when you're having any of those symptoms is around your daily routine, around your diet, exercise, sleep. I mean, those are the main things. And for me, once I got those things more dialed in, not perfect, obviously, but at least I'm trying to adapt them in some way. My symptoms started to slowly dissipate. And as that happened, that ultimately led me to be able to figure out what kind of career I wanted to get into. I had the motivation to perform well in college, to ultimately get into uh, the program, the nursing program that I needed to get into, graduate that, get a job. It's like all these things feed into each other so much because
Snowball.
if your mind is holding you back in some fundamental way, depression, anxiety, those are two of the most common things that people struggle with. Fitness and just taking care of your body is such a hack, really. I mean, once you figure it out, the amount of benefits that you get from it in all areas of life just start to flourish if you allow it to.
100%. I agree.
Yeah, so that's been incredibly important to me, and it still is. It still is. I would say there was a point where I was a little bit too reliant on my physical training. Like if I missed a day in the gym, I would start to feel depressed. I would start to feel anxious, start to beat myself up a little bit. Whereas now it's to the point where like if I miss one day, I understand that it's just one day. I can go back, get back into it, stay consistent. So yeah, you don't want to be completely lackadaisical about it, but you also don't want to beat yourself up too much when you miss training.
For I mean, honestly, one of the most important things about going through any challenges in life is being kind to yourself. It's probably like the most underrated thing is you have to be there for yourself. You have to be your own advocate. You have to understand that you aren't perfect and that you will make mistakes and you're not going to do everything completely the way that everybody else says that you should be doing it. It's your own approach. Understand that you are human. Be gracious to yourself and be generous with yourself. and just do what you can, just make steps forward.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to strike that balance between cracking the whip on yourself, being serious, being consistent, and then also being understanding of your failures.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, but it comes with time. And I think it's being willing to accept the areas where you fail, but not allowing that to affect your consistency. Like, oh, I missed one day of the gym this week. I'm just not going to go for the rest of the week. It's like, well, no, you can still benefit from all those other days. You don't have to let it be a ripple effect, a domino effect where one one thing just ruins your entire week or your entire day. It's just that ability to move forward and persevere, which gets us back to the mental strength. Like, do you have the mental fortitude to forgive yourself, to move forward, and still have faith that the process that you're working in, whether it's achieving success in a career, achieving physical fitness, financial freedom, spiritual development, do you have the faith that your efforts are going to pay off ultimately? So, to close today's episode, we have Luke 10, verse 19. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall hurt you. Now, to preface this a little bit, this is Jesus speaking to 72 of his followers after he sent them out to heal the sick and spread his message. This is relatively early in his ministry, and they come back to him and they're like, wow, you have so much power. Like, we're able to cast out demons in your name, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. This is his response to them. And it just shows us the authority that we have in Jesus as followers of Jesus. You know, we are not powerless to the schemes of the devil. The devil can try to overtake us, try to overpower us, try to tempt us, but ultimately when we rely on the strength of God, we have authority to overcome those things.
We don't by ourselves inherently have the power to just walk into any room that we are and command it immediately, but through, the teachings of Christ and following in what he has for us and by developing ourselves and being kind to others and fostering communities, all these things, that is what gets you that authority to command a place and to kind of be who you are meant to be as virtuous as you are, to enact these virtues onto others. It really just all comes from Christ in the end, for sure.
And it can be hard to try to access that in our worldly state, in our fleshly bodies. I think the idea of acting in the strength of God is pretty abstract, but I think really, it's easy to overthink, but I think what it comes down to is knowing the truth, being able to remain steadfast in the truth when the trials come, and then just standing up to whatever kind of challenge you're facing and just saying, like, no, God's given me what I need to face this. Just actively accepting that fact and resting in that security. Yeah, but it's good to recognize that our strength isn't our own.
Keeps us humble.
It definitely keeps us humble. Yeah. Yeah, everything is a gift from God, and even when we think that we work for something, all this effort that we put into the gym, to jobs, to relationships, like, God's been with us the whole time. God has given us the people around us who have encouraged us to pursue these things. He's given us his teaching to keep us on the straight and narrow path, and he's given us this world that is full of opportunity for growth and development. So keeping that in mind is very sobering.
For sure.
Thank you all for listening. Please send us your thoughts, suggestions, and criticisms at masculinespiritpodcast@gmail.com, and follow us on Instagram at masculinespiritpodcast. We both look forward to continuing this journey together, and you all have a blessed day.
Blessed day.
Finding strength in submission, that's the mission. Breaking chains of tradition, new position. Walking in his vision, divine commission. This is masculine spirit, listen. Started as a boy with a heart full of questions, seeking validation through worldly possessions, learning wrong lessons about masculine expression. Depression hit heavy with painful suggestions that I wasn't worthy, wasn't making impressions, till I found his message and started progressing. Through every blessing and every testing, now I'm addressing the lies I was festering. Stand up, warrior, it's time to rise. Let his light shine through your eyes. Every battle makes you rise. This is where your spirit flies. Yeah, this is where your spirit flies. See, the thing about manhood, it isn't in muscles, though I built them daily through physical struggles, deeper than hustles and temporary puzzles. Spirit was muzzled till Christ came to shuffle my priorities, showing me purpose is foundational, rational, factual, but still inspirational, national, global, yet still congregational, building generational wisdom, that's operational. Finding strength in submission, that's the mission. Breaking chains of tradition, new position. Walking in this vision, divine commission. This is masculine spirit, listen. Biblical principles, giving me clarity. Carrying wisdom through all this disparity. Apparently strength isn't measured in scarcity. Rapid with charity, prayer, sincerity. Finding the warrior spirit inside of me, guided by a light that was hiding inside of me. Pride had to die for this ride to be righteous. See, Christ had to rise for this life to be bright in me. Sometimes we fall, we fall, we fall. Sometimes we crawl, we crawl, we crawl. But through it all, we hear his call, building walls, standing tall, breaking falls, breaking for our brothers, yeah. Brothers, we stronger when walking together, whether the weather is stormy or better. We measure our treasure in spiritual leather and never say never to heavenly preference. Learning to lead when we're serving the least of us, freeing the beast while releasing the priest in us, seeking increase while the feeder was keeping us, chained to beliefs that are deeply deceiving us. Stand up, warrior, it's time to shine. Let your light lead down the line. Every brother by design. This is where our spirits climb. This is where our spirits stand as a beacon for the brothers still seeking. Show them strength isn't weakness when you're down on your knees. Every trial that tested me, every mile that pressed in me, built the man God blessed in me. Now I'm walking in destiny.